What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Timothy Hannick. Got 8 pages left to go. That's the good news. The bad news is I'll probably have to do another 2 parts. Probably. So, let me shut up and get to this. I had to play outside for entertainment like the good old days. Believe it or not, it was rather fun. My dad wrote a letter to me saying how sorry he was for what he did, and he asked if I believed in God. He told me that he has been saved through the grace of God and hopes that I will give God a chance to save me. Luckily for me, there was a church down the road from where I lived. I decided to go to this bonfire that I heard about from someone at school, which takes place at that church down the road. The name of this church was Green Community Church, and that's where I went to get saved. I got a nasty taste in my throat, like it comes up. Anyway, when I got to the bonfire, I met this man named Tim that looked at me and decided to introduce himself to me. He asked me if I believed in God. I told him that I wasn't sure and then explained to him that my father told me to give God a chance. Tim then asked me if I would like to be saved. I just looked at him and said, sure. So he told me to repeat after him, and so I did. Just that with... Okay, so... Alright, so... Literally, to explain what I just got stuck on, what happened was I was just telling this guy, Tim, that I don't know if I believe in God. Okay, my father was just writing me a letter saying that he's been saved through the grace of God, and he thinks that I should give God a chance if I haven't already. So I went down to the church, like I said in the story just now, and the guy, Tim, asked me if I wanted to be saved. I just said sure, had no idea if I really wanted to be. I just said sure, what the heck, So he told me, well, just repeat after what I say. So, we both closed our eyes. He actually explained to me, I didn't add that in the book, but he explained to me that I need to bow my head, or, put my hands into a big, mega fist, I guess you could say, and just pray. I had no idea what I was doing. I just repeated after what that guy said. After I got done doing that, he put his hand on my shoulder as I'm looking here, with a smile on his face after we got done praying, and he said, "You are reborn as a child of God." So I started to ride my bike up to church every Sunday up until Mom, therefore my nickname for my grandma, wanted to go, so I had to learn how to drive her to church and to other places because she couldn't walk due to the injuries from the car accident. My grandmother eventually lost both her legs surgically because she had some kind of virus that always started down at her feet and worked its way up. So she went to the hospital, and they caught on to it in time. They said, well, here's your options. Either we can cut off your legs, or you can just wait until it reaches up to your heart and kills you. So even though she kept telling me she wanted to die, and she kept telling everybody, I just want to die, all my family members are dead, her parents were dead, all her cousins, aunts, uncles, all of those people are dead. She was the only one left, and her sister was the only person she had left. After her sister died from lung cancer, she just didn't care. She felt like crap. She felt miserable. The only reason she did not overdose, because there was plenty of times she said she was going to overdose. She was going to pop all these medication pills that the doctor gave her for pain and just kill herself. There's so many times she was going to do that. The only thing that stopped her was me. The love that she had for me. She did not want to leave me behind. She loved me that much. And I was there for her when she needed me because of everything that she did with me when I was younger, before the car accident happened. I was still scared about what happened all those years ago when I almost lost my life in that car accident. Unfortunately for me, my mom didn't give me a choice, so I started driving when I was 16 with no permit or license. At one point, I had a girl come over every weekend to help me take care of my mom, and eventually she started developing feelings towards me and asked if I ever had sex. I told her no, and well, she showed me how it was done. For those who couldn't find the hole their first time, don't feel bad because I couldn't either. Now, before you start laughing because of what I just said, just know this girl was a heavyset chick, and that I'm sorry, I was looking at a message that just popped up from a friend I just made on Facebook. I'm going to try to get him to watch these videos too. Anyway, just so you know, this girl's lips were 3 inches deep. That's practically half the size of my ding dong. At least at that time. It was pretty much half the size back then. But anyway, it's so hard to find the hole when you, for one, you have no idea what you're doing. I know a lot of you are like, well, didn't your dad make you do all this stuff with your sister? Yeah, but he only had me rub my ding dong across my sister's vagina and her butt. He never showed me where the hole was. So I was clueless on that. Okay? Now you can be like, oh, okay then. So yeah, there was that. I never knew what the vagina hole looked like or smelt like or any of that, honestly. I was too terrified while doing those things to even pay attention. Anyway, I became addicted to sex and had every weekend with the same girl nonstop. I was having sex nonstop. The most I've ever done was probably I think it was 9 times in one day. Yeah, it's ridiculous how crazy I was on it. The school I was going to at this time was Maplewood Middle School. I dated a total of 4 girls that year. 3 of them were in school. The other one was 29 years old from a different state. The 29-year-old woman came to see me twice, and we did sleep together. Between the girl that came over every weekend, she was actually 18, I was 16. So yes, I was a minor doing it with an 18-year-old. But legally speaking, as long as your parents are perfectly fine, because in the state of Ohio, they haven't changed this law yet. In the state of Ohio, you are legally allowed to have sex at the age of 16. I know that's kind of weird considering a lot of people nowadays are having sex at the age of 12 and 14 and stuff. I don't think anyone should be really doing that stuff until about 15 or 16 years old, to be honest. At least the way I see it, I think you should wait until you're about 15 or 16. Now, a lot of parents strike fear into their kids, saying, if you have sex before you're 18, I'm going to throw your ass out and stuff like that. Well, I don't know. The parents make their own threats, but they're really not going to do it. I'll explain something about what happened to me in the past, if I remember. So if you guys can comment below and say, hey Tim, don't forget that there was something you wanted to tell us about, something your mom said that scared you into, not doing it too soon. So anyway, I learned new sex positions from her, and later on in my life, I studied sex. I studied different positions and also tried many of them out, so you could say that I am kinky in bed. Legitly. So watch out, ladies. No, I'm not joking. I told my mom this before when I was when I was about 17. I told her about my kinky sex life, and she's like, I don't want to know, I don't want to know, I don't want to know. And she's like, your dad wasn't like that, I don't see how the hell you are. Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. One day, I went to church alone and found a roadkill animal that appeared to be a possum with one eye popping out and a lot of blood coming out of its mouth. So I was sure it was dead. Which it was. I mean, I actually got off my bike. If my memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure I kicked it a couple times. Not real hard, but just, nudged it with my foot. And, at least enough pressure to make it move back and forth a little bit. It did not move. I mean, it was dead. So, after church, I got back on my bike, went home. But before I got there, I saw a spot of the road that was covered in blood. So I assumed that someone picked up the possum and threw it into the ditch or something. Making sure I got enough time. Okay. I jumped back on my bike, and came across the same possum that died barely walking down the road with its eye bulging out. I mean, it wasn't completely out of its eye socket, but it was like bulged out. So, I mean, you could see pretty practically the whole eyeball itself. Like if you surgically removed it, it was practically all the way out. So, anyway, where was I? Oh, I was barely walking down the road with its eye bulging out and blood still coming out of its mouth. I rode my bike up to it, which it looked at me and then walked slowly away towards the ditch and then died. See, this is one of the impossible things I was talking about. This possum was dead. After 1 hour of being in the church and then going back home, after church, everyone, keep that in mind, after church. After I got done praising God and everything, reading the Bible, learning more about Him, I went home to my grandma. But on the way there, that possum I ran into that was dead, that same exact possum that was dead, was standing. It was barely walking. Then walked away from me when I got too close. It didn't run because it was pretty much, it was just too weak, exhausted. It was dead inside. It had enough strength to go towards the ditch and it died there. Again. Explain to me, for those who are scientifically always having to explain things, someone please explain to me how that is possible. This is the same story I tell many, many people. And there's one guy that used to live with me named Jeff. He was a big science nerd. He would explain all these different events to you. All you got to do is tell him what happened to you, and he'll have a term. He would have some type of explanation for it. But when I told him about that, actually I didn't tell him. I was hoping that he would hear it. Because I was telling somebody else. But he was around at the time when he heard me. But, yeah. He had nothing to say. I'm pretty sure he heard me. But in case I'm wrong, whatever. But if anyone can explain that to me, that'd be great. So, I'm going to have to stop there. I'm sorry for talking, but I'm trying to tell you guys more things about my life. More events that has happened throughout, up until now. But anyway, hit that like button if you enjoyed. Comment whatever is on your mind. And subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.